sex without marriage. Oh well, that clears that up. I will touch few topics discussed, but won't touch everything because it's not worth it. Not worth it, or because you don't want to touch it. First of all, I did tell you that I discussed the topic of 424, Search 424 at length with you. I noticed though that you want to focus on Qur'an 425, which seems to me as your attempt to try to ignore what's in Qur'an 424. I actually spent a week on that verse, therefore I am not avoiding the topic. When did you ever tell me why there is no period after, quote, forbidden to our married women, unquote? So when it then says, quote, except what your right hand possess, it sounds like you can have sex, quote, marry, unquote, of married slave women your right hand possess. I just feel I did cover it, not that part. And if you are still not satisfied, then there is nothing I can say to change your mind. That's true. I'm not satisfied, that's for sure. But I do find it interesting how you are so blind to the fact that there is no period mark after, quote, married women. And instead, I do find interesting how you are so blind to the fact that there is no period mark after forbidden to our married women. And instead, there is an except what your right hand possess, which it seems greatly removes African-American complaint for the time the U.S. had slavery. And brief, if the Quran says it's forbidden to you to marry X and Y, except Z, I don't see how you are relating Y and Z. Explain, please. In the Quran, there is no punctuation, so the lack of a period between the two sentences doesn't mean that all married women and slave girls are related. Did I say they are related? No, I didn't. The Quran shows there is a difference. If they were the same, then you couldn't have sex, quote, marriage, unquote, with married slave girls also. God is omniscient and omnipotent, and apparently not a very good writer with the, quote, clear signs handed down, unquote. Being omniscient doesn't erase the fact that he is omnipotent as well. So they can come down to earth in the form of a man. The claim that God cannot be a man and the omnipotent thing is simply ridiculous. Tell me about it. So you agree that God can become a man. If I follow your theory of logic, then God can be a rat, a snake, evil, just because he can. And he can be a dove, according to the Bible. Being a man is a limitation of power and not the opposite. Well, the Bible says that Jesus was made a little lower than the angels. Looks like God can limit himself. If God is God, why he should become a man? To show his love for us? He doesn't need to lower himself and become a man. The Bible sure seems to say so. He doesn't need to do so to understand man. He understands man without doing that. True, but that wasn't God's mission. God's mission was to become flesh and dwell among us to redeem the world by becoming the lamb slain from the foundation of the world, unquote. It's ridiculously stupid. The Bible says that the work of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. I can see how you have been indoctrinated, that you might not see the ridiculous of this, and you make yourself believe that someone needs to be Christian to understand this nonsense. Again, the Bible says the work of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing. I hate to scare you, but it doesn't seem like foolishness to me. For one thing, it makes crazy stuff in the Old Testament make perfect sense. Blood atonement for sin, idol of a snake used as effective snake bite cure. When God hates images so much, Passover lamb. Oh, and a new one I rediscovered today by a Muslim. The rejection of Cain's bloodless vegetables for Abel's bloody sacrifices of lambs. I apologize if I got carried away. It's not your fault. I'm usually a person who respects others' belief. I'm usually a person who respects others' belief. I don't respect a false belief. If it's false, well, to me, it's of Satan. I do respect the person of that false belief, though. However, I'm sensing some malice in your words. Not directed to you, if there is. And don't interrupt me to ask me to give you examples, okay? I'm getting to it. Sit tight. And again, don't go ahead of yourself, okay? You might have a heart attack. I'm still in pretty good shape. I will tell you if my eyes bulge out. Take a deep breath and read what I say. Take a deep breath and read what people say till the end, so you might for once understand what you read. You mean what you read? I understand perfectly what you say. I'm just trying to find out what you think about there not being a period but the word except, unquote, after, quote, forbidden to you are married women. Believe me, I understand you perfectly. I'm sensing some malice in your words. Again, if there is, it's not directed at you. For example, the fact that you keep repeating the word sex even though the verse doesn't say sex but marriage, and it is written in all English versions. Right. A marriage that is, according to Qur'an 4:22, abominable, evil, hateful, indecent, unless it's with those whom your right hand possess, unquote. That seem to be a married, and they seem to be married slave girls, where it's fine apparently. You say sex, then you follow it by marriage, unquote. You're right. I understand you might slip and say sex instead of marriage when you are talking, and you might do it one time. But when you are writing, you cannot slip and then repeat it at least twice. This is intentional. True. Because Qur'an 4:22, this, quote, marriage, unquote, as you want to say it is seen as indecent, abominable, hateful, evil, unless it's with whom you right hand possess, after married women. If it's not with those, quote, whom you right hand possess, that again sound like married slave women. Well, hey, so yes, you bet it's intentional to make a point. Another thing, I talk about something, then you take me to another subject. Really? Where'd I do that? Can you give an example where I change the subject? Doesn't respond. Another time. Sex is important in life, but it has to be legalized by marriage, right? You are a man who follows religion, and I'm sure you agree with me on this part. True, but notice again that this religion, Islam, has an allowance to have sex with slave women, captives, that belong to you and seem married due to no period between forbidden married women and slave girls. You call them girls, not women. Marriage leads to sex. Sex during marriage might have many reasons, and one of those reasons is obviously for pleasure. Another important reason is to have babies. The fact that I said sex is important during marriage to have babies does not mean that sex is only to have babies. So when I say, quote, sex, unquote, and you say not sex, you don't see how you are giving me mixed messages? You cannot take my words and assume things on my behalf. And I need to state obvious, otherwise you will misunderstand me. Well, you do seem to be trying to make something clear to me look awfully confused. Is that al-taqiyya on your part? We Muslims are human beings too. You know? True. Are non-Muslims human beings to Muslims? You have feelings. Excuse me. We have feelings. We get aroused sexually too. We have sex for pleasure, But we do it the legitimate way, with our wives. Which you can divorce by saying, I divorce you 3 times, true? I don't understand why, when I'm referring to God, you are using he, they. Because Allah calls himself we and our. Because Allah is the only God I know that uses the, quote, majestic we, end quote. He, they, sure didn't use it when they wrote the Torah and the Injil. The only time there is the majestic we is when someone by the name of Legion uses it in the New Testament. You should check out Legion. He is called we. He calls himself we because he is many demon spirits, that is.